To experience the romance of the railways of bygone times is always a pleasure, and this is no exception. So welcome aboard. Our journey begins in Jesenice, in the north of the EU member state of Slovenia. Each summer, the historical steam train travels through the Triglav National Park and both the Bača and Soča Valleys to Nova Gorica. An interesting journey on a slow train through a green and fertile landscape, past farms, small villages, and old abandoned farms. We arrive at our first stop. Steam train enthusiasts, both young and not so young, hang out of the open windows of the coaches and gradually disembark. Several actors are on the train, dressed as conductors in the uniforms of the former empire. A special touch that adds to the wonderful atmosphere. They stroll along the platforms, happy to be photographed. The train station is sited above a hollowed-out glacier that later became Bled Lake, one of the warmest lakes in the Alps. The water is crystal clear and shines emerald green in the sunlight. Thermal sources feed the mountain lake, making the climate here most agreeable. In 1858, Arnold Rickley, a Swiss doctor, built a spa hotel here, and this health resort was born. Great for bathing, with good clean air and unspoiled nature. Ideal conditions enjoyed by the entire region. From the rocks on the north shore, a castle overlooks the forests and villages that line the lake. Unfortunately, the lake is slowly shrinking due to more water flowing out than in. The up to 31-meter deep lake is protected from cold winds by the Alps. The tiny island is a popular photo opportunity. From a 140-meter-high rock, BLEISKI Grad Castle surveys all. Its oldest buildings date back to the late Middle Ages. Its commercial and residential buildings are mostly from the Baroque period. The lower courtyard leads to the upper courtyard in which noblemen once lived. In 1004 AD, a defensive tower stood here which subsequently became part of the castle. Medieval artifacts such as coinage are on display. In the upper residential building, there's a museum which features the turbulent history of Bled. Its Gothic chapel is dedicated to the saints Albuin and Ingenuine and is decorated with frescoes which were added in the 18th century. There's a splendid view. In wooden pletnia boats, boatmen row to the island. "99 steps lead up to the Church of Mary that was built on the site of an ancient pagan place of worship. This pilgrim church is popular for wedding ceremonies, and for those who ring the wishing bell, their dreams will come true. With such positive thoughts, we return to the mainland. The trip to the romantic BLEISKI Otok proved to be a success. The station is becoming busier and the steam train is ready to depart, monitored by both station managers and conductors. The Bohinj Museum Train continues on its journey, powerful, steaming and rattling, heading for the next valley. The route now runs through a valley which borders the Triglav National Park, with small villages and stations along the way. The Bohinj, as this region is named, was once known for its hammer mills, but in the 19th century the ore deposits ran out. An iron foundry, timber and charcoal production were the main sources of income in this remote and often harsh environment. Agriculture too was limited to small areas, and in the 20th century the onset of tourism was due to the new railroad. The nostalgic train rumbles slowly into the next station. Bohinjsko-Bystrica, the region's dreamy main centre. In the Bohinj Valley, the lake is the main attraction, emerald green and crystal clear. The 4-kilometre long and up to 45-metre deep Bohinj Jezero is a huge basin surrounded by splendid mountains. The largest lake in Slovenia and all of its fine natural scenery is protected due to it being located within the Triglav National Park. The small village of Ribčev Lance is situated on the outflow of the lake where the banks are undeveloped and allow visitors free access. It's a picture postcard idyll that is not even disturbed by the lake's only electric-powered tour boat as it slowly moves on the water. The age of a church dedicated to John the Baptist is easily discernible. Romanesque art of the 14th century. The interior is richly decorated with frescoes that date back to a later period. The presbytery is adorned with a cross-ribbed vault, and the paintings are multi-layered. From the other end of Lake Bohinj, a cable car transports both passengers and goods to the station at VOGEL mountain, 1,540 meters above sea level. There's an observation platform. In fine weather, the panoramic view from here is breathtaking. The lake, Triglav and the Julian Alps. A popular ski resort in winter, in summer it's very popular with walkers who venture into the high mountain areas. And there are ski hotels, ski lifts and chalets. The limestone mountains of the Triglav National Park are a national treasure, a majestic sight. At the southern end of Lake Bohinj is a somewhat demanding climb to the SAVICA waterfall. The water of the SAVICA flows into a creek between huge rocks and then flows towards the lake. "555 steep steps lead through a forest and up a mountain slope. There's a shortcut where the wild water has cut its own path." The forest is fragrant, and a small wooden pavilion appears to block the steps, the end of our arduous ascent. What a sight! The SAVICA waterfall in all of its glory. The water plunges down about 60 meters into an emerald green basin below. It's believed to be more than 1,000 years since the last prince of the Slovenes was baptized here. The train leaves Bohinjsko-Bistrica station and travels through the 6-kilometer-long Kolba tunnel and passes pod Bredo. Next we arrive in the narrow Bačka Valley and the southern side of the Julian Alps. When the train travels across the long bridge at Grahovo, it's a splendid sight, the train most certainly being the star of the show. The railway line, once called the Karavanken-Wochener train, was built between 1900 to 1905 during Austro-Hungarian rule. For that time, it was a unique technical achievement, with 42 tunnels, 62 bridges and 3 galleries. At the open end of the valley, at Bača pri Modreju, a semicircular stone bridge leads into the Soča River valley. The train gradually approaches the next station, which is located just outside the village. Most na Soči, a tranquil and well-located village with a long history that dates back to prehistoric times. It's a strategic location at the junction of the rivers Soča and Adriatic, which attracted settlers to this area in both the Bronze and Iron Ages. Archaeology has produced many interesting finds here, most of which are now featured in various museums of the former Austro-Hungarian Empire, but not in the town itself. Although the heyday of railway tourism is long gone, nostalgic journeys such as this make it live on. A small Mississippi-type steamer travels at leisurely pace on the artificial lake and along a short section of Soča. And around the lake there are idyllic walking trails. But for swimming, the turquoise blue water is rather too cold. At Most na Soči station, there's a cheerful atmosphere stimulated by the railway's actors and some good music. In the station museum, signalling systems are on display. Now it's almost time to leave on the next leg of our journey, and passengers return to the train, some enjoying a quick dance accompanied by accordion music. The route heads south through the Soča Valley. The Austro-Hungarian monarchy required a second railway connection between Vienna and Trieste. Its planning took more than 30 years and was destined to go via Ljubljana. However, first, wild mountains and valleys had to be overcome. It took 5 years to build the railroad. Tunnels were blasted out of the rock, narrow valleys used to their best advantage, and amazing bridges constructed. On July the 19th, 1906, the heir to the Austrian throne, Franz Ferdinand, inaugurated the Bohinj Railway. KANAL is our next stop in the Soča Valley, a narrow location with a suitably designed station. A wild mountain river determines life here, and most of its few buildings have been built on the rocky riverbank. KANAL's main landmark is a stone bridge over the Soča. It was built in around 1340, but there was also a river crossing here in Roman times. A fine Mediterranean town where fruit trees and ornamental plants thrive in a wonderful climate. Next to the town's central 15th century church, there's a Neptune's fountain that was built in 1815. The settlement was created in the Middle Ages, its former defensive towers hardly visible today. The remains of its fortified walls are few and far between, and although the town expanded over the centuries, it remained quite compact. Back to the station, where the train awaits us. With the completion of this railroad, the railway network connected Vienna and Central Europe with the Adriatic regions of the K&K monarchy. Freight transport proliferated and tourism began to flourish. Indeed, in 1906, this railway line was featured at the tourist fair in London. Although the Soča is becoming wider and more powerful due to good forward planning, the railroad is situated out of danger, high on the mountain slope. We cross the river one last time. The train travels across the imposing 85-meter-high SOLKAN bridge, the largest stone-built railway bridge in the world. The historic train holds a special fascination when it travels across the bridge, its carriages dutifully rattling behind. Just after World War I, the Peace Conference of 1919 not only created a new map of Europe, but also transformed many of its railroads. And the Austro-Hungarian monarchy had been assigned to the history books. Therefore, even the once important Nova Gorica train station sank into insignificance. The historic carriages are now pulled by the steam locomotives of the Ljubljana Railway Museum that contain several steam ladies. On this journey we've travelled with the youngest, built in Kassel for the military in 1943. The 33-037 weighs 136 tons, is 23 metres long, and its tender can take 9 tons of coal. Where once was bustling activity, the platforms are now deserted, and the hectic railway life of old has now become pure nostalgia. After the Second World War, Nova Gorica was divided between Italy and Yugoslavia. Due to the European Union, this cruel and unnatural separation was finally made null and void. And today, the Bohinj Museum Train lives again.